Street Rod Nats time now, and for that our mates at Niedercar pointed us to Palmy for the annual NZHRA event.
The Street Rod Nationals, they're held most years by a NZHRA affiliated Hot Rod Club of New Zealand. 3 years ago we put our hands up to run it. We've got about 170 cars registered, so that's making about 300 odd people here. It's being held by the Palmerston Hot Rod Club itself, which is a club of 45 people, and a small committee of 7 have taken on this task over the last 18 months and turned it into the event that we've got this weekend.
The club scene is what drives everything. Every club is different. They inherently have their own personalities, each club, but the bottom line is it's about members that have a passion for cars and want to share it with everyone else.
Yeah, they're a positive thing for hot rodding. A lot of people need to come to them. There's a lot of people out there that, are in hot rod clubs, go to meetings, go to nothing. They don't see what goes on. You need to kind of get out there and have a look.
It's just so much fun. A few days away from everything and just hear the sound of V8s all the time and the rumble and the smell, and if you've got a car like this, you want to drive the wheels off it, so you go to as much as you can.
If you've got a passion for cars, this is where you've got to be, and you'll get that bug that says, I've got to have one. That's what happened to me to start with.
2017's Protector Insurance Street Rod Nationals made Palmy's Awapuni Racecourse its base. The function centre, the setting for meals, entertainment, as well as Saturday's dress-up do with surprise op-shop theme. It was also the meeting place before hitting the road, with cruises and activities in store all over the Manawatu, including a lap or two around Manfield, a visit to Harrisville, and Sunday's show day at Palmerston North's Town Square.
The type of cars you'll see, a lot of American-based. Our own club is made up of pre-49 or anything with American origin. Other clubs have other rules. So all sorts of cars can belong to it and come along to these things, which helps make the event quite diverse. And that really is a good thing, because you see something that you would not normally see. It's always interesting to see cars that just made the road. One of our own club members is here today with his new project that only finished on Friday, so yeah, it's great.
While the event spans Labour weekend, it does allow a bit of time to get there. With the main event really kicking off on Saturday, most made use of the Friday for travel, like Jack Rainbow, part of a large contingent from up north.
It's a 1965 Chev pickup truck, C10, long wheelbase. It's running a small block Chev that is twin turbo fuel injected with a 5-speed box. I think the power plant was a couple of years, maybe a year into it, when we started building all the exhaust. We thought, why not add some power in there, and then that was the point of no return. At the moment it's at about 475 at the wheels. We had it a bit higher on the dyno, but we tuned it down a little bit for drivability and longevity.
Our more eagle-eyed viewers will have noticed this truck is a wee bit lower than stock. No hacking off a coil or two here. The C10's lack of altitude is the result of a whole bunch of thought and hours.
Got the chassis on a jig and just cut it off underneath the footwells, and it's got a whole new front chassis in it from Mark Morrison, and custom C-notch and 4-bar rear end and 9-inch diff, and a lot of work's gone into it. A lot of work.
Another gentleman from up the line, Russ McIntyre.
Bit of a drive down, 6.5 hours or 7-hour drive, but all good, no breakages. It's actually a 1932 truck that was actually a 4-door sedan that was cut down from a truck in 1964 and chopped, and I've had it for like the body shell for like 30 years. Basically spent quite a bit of money on panel beating and built it to what it looks like today. It's running a 461 turbo 400 9-inch Ford with 325 gears. It's probably about 500 horsepower, disc brake front, drum brake rear. It's a Dwayne Jones Kiwi Connection chassis. The trays all handmade years ago. Looks like an old car on the surface, but underneath it's quite well equipped. Originally I had it when I was 23 and I'm kind of 54 now. It was originally going to be black and blown, but as time went on and I had various other vehicles, it ended up like this. I'm quite glad it did actually, because it's easy to drive, it stays cool, it goes good.
Right, we're back to Palmy now thanks to Niedercar. where the Protector Insurance Street Rod Nationals have made themselves right at home in the town square.
A lot of people get a lot of pleasure out of these sorts of cars, you know, and to see the group behind me here that we've got today, you know, like it's just amazing who comes and has a look, mum and dad and the kids, and it's great to see them here. They're all wanting to have a look at the chromey bits, a little bit like magpies.
They might not own them, but hey, a lot of these people have owned cars historically because parents might be as old as I am type thing, and their kids are growing up and they go, I used to have one of them. And we build some pretty cool stuff in New Zealand, and we've got to keep doing it. Otherwise, there are people out there we know in government and things that they probably prefer that hot rods didn't exist, I suppose, because it creates a nightmare for them with rules and regulations. But we've got a pretty sound foundation and we're here for the long haul.
Long haul also applies to the entrants. There's 170 of them and many have added a fair few numbers to the odometer. Not so much Steve though, a local and member of the host club.
It's a 1955 Chevrolet Bel Air, 4-door, New Zealand new, and it's running a 396 big block. It actually been stored for 16 years, it hadn't been driven, then got stored into a paddock, and I found it on Trade Me, went and had a look at it up in a place called Pipariki, way up the Wanganui River, brought it home, and then it started. I had to replace everything, but never mind, it was what I wanted, and so I got what I wanted.
And Steve was pretty happy with his hometown hot rod makeover.
Fantastic, yeah. I mean, the club is fairly strong as far as members go, but you've got to do a lot of travelling. Well, these guys have done the travelling to us this time, so this is what hot rodding's all about, really, is to get everybody together, talking, mingling, finding out how they did things. So it's been really good.
Part of a convoy making the drive all the way from Franklin was Brent in his GTX.
It's not garage art. Stone chips are part of the car's features. If you're not driving it, no point having it. It's a 1968 Plymouth GTX running a 499 big block Chrysler, 727 auto, and just a standard posi traction diff. It's a bit of a project. It's come and been painted in the US. It's a pretty crappy paint job. The engine was tired. That's been rebuilt by Street Rod engine reconditioners. Transmission was done by Chuck Mann. There's more body work to be done now. It's starting to show a bit of signs of wear and tear and a lot more paint to go on it yet. I've always liked GTXs. I saw one at a hot rod show that Manukau put on 15 years ago. It was a 1969 GTX. Thought it was an absolutely glorious car, so chance came to buy this. I had the money at the time, managed to talk the wife into it, and I was allowed. So that's what it's all about.
Proving a good match for Brent and his Franklin Street Rods clubmates was a large showing from the Wanganui Road Rodders. In fact, you couldn't split them, the two sharing the award for the best represented club. And from the Road Rodders, Heather and one Willie's Whippet. Supposedly a rat rod, but when your partner in crime pilots a past New Zealand show winner, things can get a little, sidetracked.
Started life as a 4-door. We didn't want 4 doors, so we got rid of 2. Took out all the rust, and that's what we were left with. When Rod started cutting it, he stood back, looked at it and said, I'm 1 mil out on that side, and I knew then and there it was not going to be a rat rod. 44 skulls on it, I went a bit overboard. Threw in the old Y block just to get it going, and it's still going after 7,500 miles. And it's backed by a Mustang AOD.
The Street Rod Nats wrap with prize giving. Among the many awards were placings for top 10 street machines and top 10 hot rods. Taking out the top spots respectively was Steve and Leanne Milne in their appropriately plated Slick 56 210 Chev, while John Allen's 32 5-window snagged yet another bit of silverware. Well deserved, but for most, the great weekend didn't have much to do with trophies.
Doesn't matter whether you win a prize or not, you do it for the love of cars, and you get to see some beautiful cars. So you take those memories with you and the photos.